Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. Today I've got an audiobook for you. I just think it's slightly the wrong way around because I've got two other books that I finished before this one, but there was just something about this book that I wanted to do first. So this book is The Bird Tribunal by Agnes Ravatn. That is your front cover. This was quite a short audiobook. The duration was 6 hours and 45 minutes, so it's just like, I could do that in like a day. I did. I listened to it on 1.5 speed, so it wasn't quite as long as 6 hours. I probably did it in about 4 hours, probably, when I think about it. And there was just something about this book. So I'll read that blurb to you. TV presenter Alice Hagthorne leaves her partner and her job to take voluntary exile in a remote house on an isolated fjord. But her new job as housekeeper and gardener is not all that it seems, and her silent surly employer, 44-year-old Sigurd Barger, is not the old man she expected. As they await the return of his wife from her travels, their silent, uneasy encounters develop into a chilling, obsessive relationship, and it becomes clear that atonement for past sins may not be enough. So it's in fiction and crime and thriller, and as I said, this was short. 6 hours and 45 minutes listened to an audiobook, so I imagine the page count isn't actually that long. This was read by Penelope Rawlins, and I actually just finished a different audiobook that had Penelope Rawlins' voice on it as well, which I think is why this was recommended to me through BorrowBox. I'd say it's a slow burn. It's a lot of setting the stage, setting the scene almost. And I did actually read, after I finished this, that this is either being adapted or has been adapted into a play, which completely makes sense having read it, though I do wonder, because some of it takes place on a boat on a lake, and I do wonder how those scenes would work on stage. I'm not saying it's impossible, because obviously you can put boats on stage, and one of the most amazing things I ever saw of turning a stage into a boat was when I saw King Kong on Broadway. I actually felt seasick the way that they did that, so big thumbs up to the team that created that set, because you made somebody who gets seasick feel seasick in a theatre. How? The title, The Bird Tribunal, for a while I was just there thinking why is it called The Bird Tribunal? What's that about? And it's actually a reference to a dream that Barger, the man that she is technically her employer, I guess, he has a dream about halfway through the book, which is where the title comes from. As well as the dream, there's something that happens towards the end of the book involving birds that I think has something to do with it as well. It's just a very interesting one to listen to. It's very much just a two-parter. You've got these two, and then there's times when Alice goes to the local shop and she talks to the shopkeeper. But yeah, so it's on stage it would be a 2-3-hander. They wouldn't even have to have somebody playing the shopkeeper because they could just do it all in the house. Yeah. It was just so unsettling is the word to use to describe this book, because you just got so much of kind of layering. The two main characters both have their secrets and things they are trying to run away from. You do find out more about Alice's first before you get to know Barger, who he's mainly referred to as Barger throughout the whole book. And it's set in Norway. It's a Norwegian book, translated by Rosie Hedger. See, a lot of things we're describing it as a psychological thriller builds to a shocking dramatic crescendo. It's interesting wording on how this has been described, because I said it's unsettling, and to be honest, I think I did kind of guess some of where it was going to go, just because we got so much information about Agnes in the beginning, and it wasn't until about halfway through, maybe 3/4 of the way through, that you learn more about Barger and what is so unsettling about him. The relationship between the two of them throughout the book, basically Alice admits to being scared of him on several occasions throughout the book, but at the same time you also see this friendship and relationship developing between the two of them. But Alice always, under the surface, is slightly scared of what he's going to do and how he's going to react to certain things that she is doing. There's a point before their friendship has really established that she decides to bake some bread, and she realises she's going to have the bread in the oven overnight, and she's just there going, what is going to happen if he finds out I've been using the oven overnight? When she realises that she misread the recipe and that she has to stay up and that the bread needs to be in the oven overnight. She's just like, well, I'm not going to go to sleep, so I'm going to stay up while the oven is on and maybe like nap on the sofa, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. And it's just that whole thing of just like, she's never fully accepted in the house as kind of like this housekeeper person. She's mainly working in the garden. As you know from the blurb, she used to be a television presenter, and there's a big secret over like what happened to make her leave that job, and her secret does come out in the book, and it's only after she has shared with Barger what her secret is that Barger eventually tells Alice what his secret is. But his secret only comes out because of a conversation that Alice has with the local shopkeeper. So it's proof that while Alice is on that thing of going, I feel like I can trust you, and I feel like I can share this secret with you, it's somebody else's involvement that gets Barger to open up. Throughout the book, Barger never truly trusts Alice. And that leads to that unsettling thing, because you're just very aware throughout the whole book that Barger is not what he seems. And there's a point when she says, oh, I'm going to go into town and I'm going to be away for a couple of days. And then while she's in town, her plans change. She comes back a day earlier than she was supposed to. And Barger has left, locked up, and she realises that she has never been given a key to the house. So she changes into a spare pair of clothes that she has with her, and she just gets to work in the garden. And when Barger comes back, he's like, oh, I thought you weren't coming home till tomorrow. And that moment in the book is just, I keep saying the word unsettling, it's just because that's the only word that seems to make sense in regards to this book. Just from the very beginning I didn't trust Barger, but at the same time even Alice you can't trust, because you know she's harbouring a secret over what made her leave her job and why she left a job in television and has completely turned her back on that to become this housekeeper and gardener in the middle of nowhere. It's just like, she has this local walk like to the corner shop essentially, but there's times when that's not even open, and so sometimes they have to get a car to somewhere bigger to get more stuff in. Like there's a point when they're talking about like the possible, I think it's a mouse infestation, and the traps that she lays for the mice. Is it mice or is it rats? I want to say it's mice. Yeah, because Barger eventually mentions that owls are a good mouse hunter. But first, when she lays the traps for the mice, it's actually getting to the birds, because she puts in just little bits of fat, and so the birds are attracted to these traps, and she ends up finding a load of birds in the mice traps. And that also was adding another layer to the title, the Bird Tribunal, because it's just like, oh, so what is the relevance of these birds? Because it's a very bird heavy book, I'll just say that. But yeah, I think having slept on it, because when I first finished it, it was just like, oh, Alice. Especially because when the events of the very end of the book, they're on a boat. I'm just going to say that. And you're very aware that Alice has already shared her secret in regards to why she left television and what happened there. And then more of that secret comes out at the very end, which affects the way that Barger looks at her. And it's just like, you've already had half of this secret. And I found Alice to be very naive about what she was sharing with this man, who ultimately wasn't really sharing anything with her. It's like she's never really fully aware of the relationship that she has with him. It's very weird. I definitely had more to say about this book than I realised. But yeah, I just found it was very clever, though it was a slow read, if that makes sense, even though I listened to it. I think it's because there's just so much of it, it's just establishing that relationship and looking at Alice and Barger, and you're realising how closed off Barger is, whereas the amount of things that Alice wants to say to Barger but doesn't, and even though it's short, I felt like it could have been shorter still, because there's just so much of just groundwork, dropping the seeds that eventually become full-on flowers and trees. And I think I did like it. Was it like twisty-turny? A little bit, but it was very much a case of, I felt like I was listening to it rather than feeling it, if that makes sense. But I do think a stage production of this, like a play, could be really clever. because I think there's so much that can be done with adaptations, because for this you are so much inside of Alice's head, and I think with a play it might just help it to turn the corner. But yeah, so a lot of the reviews I did see were actually Norwegian, obviously because it's set in Norway and it's by a Norwegian author. On Goodreads I couldn't actually see any English reviews, so I'm not quite sure how much it has actually transferred to an English audience at this point. It says it was released in 2017, but I haven't seen many English reviews of it, which I find quite interesting. But I did find it clever and unsettling, is that word again, and even though there were some things I did kind of pick up on, mainly because of how Barger is written as being kind of like this quiet, almost observer to Alice, it did make me wonder certain things about him, which later in the book some of my theories were correct, but I didn't have the whole story. And yeah, I just found it really interesting and creepy and unsettling, and it's just mainly to do with that relationship, the fact that Alice from the very beginning of the book is there thinking, I don't completely trust this person. There's certain points when she's terrified of him and is worried that he's going to kill her, and then even though she still has that unsettling feeling about him, they do create a friendship, and it's just seeing where that relationship goes. And yeah, unsettling is the word of the day in regards to this book. But yeah, The Bird Tribunal by Agnes Ravatn. I feel like I haven't said that much, but it's because with it being a short story and because it's got so much concentration on those two characters, anything I do say more about Barger would be a complete spoiler. The Bird Tribunal, Agnes Ravatn. That is the front cover. That front cover is very much a reference to the few times they do go out on the lake in the boat, and also to what happens at the end of the book. There's also the fact that in this book, Alice is very aware that Barger keeps referring to his wife and how she's going to be away for a bit, but she's coming back, and Alice knows nothing about the wife. So it has that bit of mystery over the missing wife, where she is, and what Barger is not telling Alice. Yeah. It was an interesting one. There is a blurb on the front of the book by Amanda Jennings, I'm guessing she's another author, that says, chilling, atmospheric and hauntingly beautiful. Hauntingly beautiful, interesting words to use, but to say it was haunting, I'm not sure if the word haunting is correct. The atmospheric, definitely. Two people in exile, two secrets. As the past tightened its grip, there may be no escape. So thank you so much for watching. If that sounds like an interesting one, I do put links in my descriptions to where you can find the books. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. Thank you to the new subscribers. I have seen that number creep up again, and it's just so nice to see you and see the people who are commenting. I've had a couple of comments. Say that 3 times fast. I've had a few comments recently, and yeah, it's just nice to interact with you guys. And yeah, so don't hesitate to chat with me and let me know what you're reading, if there's anything that you think I might enjoy, because I'm always looking for a good book. I did have a comment recently asking how do I find the time to read. I think that was on my Instagram rather than my YouTube, and it was just like I literally listen to audiobooks more often now, and I've also got my theatre books, which is the book that I take to the theatre with me, and because I do have BorrowBox and Kindle on my phone, it means that I do have easy access to it. So instead of scrolling, I'm reading. That's the best way to say like where I get my time from, even though it doesn't mean that I don't sometimes endlessly scroll through Instagram and TikTok because we all do it at some point, but I do try to read more than I scroll. So if I find myself scrolling, I'm just like, no, I could be reading a book at this point. So then I switch to one of the book apps and figure out which I'm reading. So I always have about 2 books on the go at least, with an audio book and then a book that I'm actually reading. But then I do also try to have a physical book, which I've got waiting for Wednesday, I think it is. The Free Decline series, that's book number 3 on my bedside table, which is my current theatre book, which I'm at tonight and I'm at on Thursday. By the time you see this, I will have been on holiday and come back. So this is me stockpiling my videos because I want to have videos edited and uploaded ready to go while I'm away, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about reading or editing while I'm on holiday, which to be fair I'll probably still read, but yeah, because I'm going to Florida, I'm going to Disney World, I can't wait. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time with another video. Stay safe everybody, I love you all. Goodbye.